Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this new Whiteside week bite-side session. As usual, it's going to be short, sharp, and straight to the point. So today's session will be presented by Errol Seaman, and on the topic of injecting cognitive stimulation with TV's 1% Club question. I'm really curious to know what activity is about, and as usual, just as I do remind every week, this session will be recorded. Tomorrow we will streamline the recorded session from 4:30 to 4:45. So the Q&A box is open for every feedback and question if you might have. Remember, small, consistent improvements lead to big results. So take one thing from today, and if you want to apply it. So that's how progress is made. Go ahead, Errol, and enjoy the session.
Thank you, Luca. Good morning, all, on this lovely spring morning. I hope nobody got April Fooled yesterday. I'm sure some of you did. But as Luca said, with our TLA bite size, it's always about, can you take even one small thing that you can use to accentuate and improve your TLA practice? So hopefully I'll provide some value with this particular bite size. As Luca just said, I've called it injecting cognitive stimulation with TV's 1% Club questions. Just before we let me go through the aims of the session. So what we want to do, I want to explore how we can use some challenging brain teasers from ITV's 1% Club to begin lessons with impacts and enhance energy. But as you'll see, not just beginning lessons. There's various ways that we can use this. We'll link how it's shared with the TLA framework. We'll explore how the pedagogical side, the rationale behind the use of the tool, so we can make sense of it from that point of view. As always, our pledge to you is to be timely. We'll end up with 15 minutes, so everyone's busy. Obviously, we always aim to provide value. And also, we will aim always to provide you with a resource that you can take away and utilize straight away. And this will be no exception. You'll have a resource that you can take and use straight away. So linking to the framework, so this comes under the category of learning activities. So, and just like with all our learning activities, in isolation, they can be quite powerful, but when they're used in combination with other teacher-led, learner-focused activities, then, obviously it can be accentuated. So this particular resource, not subject-specific, so to speak, but very much can be used as an integration with other things that you're doing within your subject at the time. So definitely could lead up to enhance if it's utilized appropriately. And to be honest, even in some respects, if you were to use it, post class, you could argue that it could be used from an expert point of view to keep learning autonomous as students, use some of the questions outside of class. Yeah. So how it works. So hopefully some of you are familiar with TV's 1% Club. My wife and I love to sit down and challenge ourselves watching the program hosted by Lee Mack. Very entertaining. And how does the quiz itself, if you're not familiar with it, they have 100 contestants in the crowd who face increasingly difficult logic-based questions. And the goal is to answer the question so they can progress to the next round. If they get a question wrong, then they are out. And the questions get increasingly difficult based upon the fact that a certain percentage of the population got the question right. So for example, the first question might be a 90% question where 90% of the population got it right, all the way down to say the final 5%, 1% questions where less people got it right. In the quiz itself, there's a 30-second time limit where the contestants have to answer the question correctly on a tablet platform that they have. And if they miss a question, as I said, they're eliminated and their stake is added to the prize pot. So that's a general overview of how it works on TV. And this is the type of question that you might have, yeah. So because we're not completely live and in sync, I would get people to write within the chat box, but as you can see, here's a particular question here: which of these cards is least likely to be found in a standard deck? Challenge yourself. Is it A, the 6 of clubs, B, the 10 of hearts, C, the 9 of spades, or D, the 4 of diamonds? And as you can see right there, if you're savvy enough, you might be able to spot the one which is the odd one out. I'm not going to give you the answer because I don't want to spoil your brain's stimulation at. Oh, what's going on? How's it work from a BDC version? Yeah, so our version is going to be slightly. Oh, what's happened? I just completely. What's happened here? You still there, Luca?
Yes, I am. So here we go. Now we can see your screen.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me just change the slide. That's the different one. Okay, excuse me. Sorry
Perfect.
about that, guys, everybody. Okay, so how does it work from our BDC version? So it's very excellent where we can use these types of questions, and I'll go through more samples of the questions in a moment, but we can use it at the beginning of the lesson as an energizer or an icebreaker. You could have this on your TV, on your smartboard screen as the students walk into the class as a puzzle for them to solve. You could use it mid-class or an energizer when energy levels dip. It could be the fact that you've got two classes. It could be after a particular break that you have, and maybe something as they return in from the break that you have a little brain teaser for them to answer. You could even use it as a group exit ticket, and I'll show you how that can be implemented as an exit ticket. Team-based activity, you could have a little bit of fun with several questions, get them into small teams in pairs, or you could even have them working as individuals to challenge themselves as a little bit of a competition. It could be maths or English specific as well, as certain questions are really based upon the English language or maths based types of questions here. And as I said, in terms of the beginning, when I said you can extend it in terms of expert practice, could be something that you give them to take home and solve themselves. Yeah, so there's another question for you guys. Let me see if you can challenge. There's only one thing that you need to answer this question, so you better move it. Logically, which answer does not fit in the pattern of the others? You got A, grin and ring, B, sword and words, C, fillets itself, and D, emanate and manatee. Yeah, so, and the great thing about these questions, they're not necessarily directly like general knowledge based. They're really about logic. They're about being able to think things through. And the reason why I love this, as a TLA resource, because a lot of the time, we're not saying we're not doing it. I think there's improvement that we can make in terms of being able to work through, questions and solutions and problems with our students to actually, how did you maneuver to get to that particular answer? How did you get to that answer rather than just saying, oh, that's right and that's wrong? Let's have that conversation behind it. Yeah. And these questions lead themselves to be able to do that. Yeah. So when I say the answers in the question without giving you the answer, it says there's only one thing you need to answer this question, so you better move it. Yeah, and that particular answer is within that particular question there. As I said, I'm not giving you the answer. I don't want to spoil it for you. Screen. All right, so we can use it as a quick starter. Here's another one right here. Which one of the following is the odd one out? And you can say A, it's got a little garment where it says 100% silk. B, an item that looks like a table. C, an item that looks like a lawnmower. D, an item that looks like a horse stable. Yeah, quickly, if we figure that out, we can see that there's some sort of parallel with certain things. So you can see the variation within the questions. Some of them can be relatively simple. Some of them can be more, a little bit complex. Let's keep moving on. Here's the answer for this one here. I've given it to you. I'll just let you know in the resource pack that we have, some of them will directly have the answers, just like I've shown you here. Lawnmower is the answer here because it does not rhyme with the others: label, table, and stable. And the great thing about this activity you'll see is that some answers will come to you immediately and you'll find it relatively easy. And literally the person sitting next to you will be stumped with the answer. And you're thinking, why can't you find the answer? It's so easy. And conversely, you will have another question where your partner will find it easy and you'll be stumped. Yeah, so it's really excellent to have a little bit of fun within the class, but also to, as I said, to think through the logic of the process. Could be English based. There's an English based type question right here, which if these is incorrect, you got A, B, C. I'm actually not going to walk through because the answer is actually there if I was to tell you right there. But you see the types of questions that can be posed, and they could also be more English-related questions. Here's another one here. Answer the question below. An Englishman, an Irishman, and a Scotsman walk into a bar. Which one is wrong? No, this is not an old school 1980s joke, but there is actually an English correction within that particular text. Some of you will see it straight away, and some of you will be stumped. Keep going. Here's a maths-based question. Amrit and his granddad share the same birthday. Their birthday balloons arrive muddled up. Amrit's granddad is 3 times older than him. How old is Amrit? So you get the idea how you can have fun with that solving of that problem, as a group, as individuals. Yeah. Here's another maths question right here. Yeah. So how could you use it as an exit ticket? So, exit tickets, being able to give the students a reward for solving something to be able to, get the right to leave the class, so to speak. So maybe with a question such as this, you could have, all right, guys, who thinks it's answer A? You guys go to this side of the room. Who thinks it's answer B? You guys go to this side of the room. Maybe the students that get it correct, they get to leave the class, and the other students have to remain behind, and maybe they get another question that they have to do. So you could do this with 2 answers, but you also could do it possibly with 4 answers, like with this particular question. All right, who thinks it's answer A? You go there. Answer B, you guys there. So now it's split up into 4. So just different ways to have a bit of fun within the classroom with these sort of puzzles. And obviously the key thing we want to do is always to talk through the solution and ask the students, how did you get to this particular conclusion with your answer? Yeah, so what I've provided you within the resource pack is a Google Slides documentation with loads of different of the 1% Club and brain teasers. I've also given you some links on the internet to where you can find some other resources. If you just Google 1% questions and answers, it will bring you up loads of different examples that you can utilize if you find this resource valuable. Also, this particular one here, it's got some of these other questions that are not in the same picture form as I showed you earlier within the presentation, but they've got the questions and the answers. Where if you click onto this link, it shows you some of the questions through different series of the TV show, and you can use these also within your classroom. Oh, yeah. No, I'll go back. All right, so pedagogical rationale, active learning and engagement. Definitely encourages hands-on participation. Lovely to keep your students engaged and stimulated, throughout the lesson, as I said, at the beginning, at the end, in the middle. Vocabulary and language development can definitely expand vocabulary and reinforces key spelling and terminology if you wanted to. Even on that point as well, once you start to see the pattern of how they put together these sort of questions, you can start to implement and innovate with your own subject-specific type of questions that you can use the basis of the questions presented within the ones that you already have in order to expand upon. Critical thinking and problem solving goes without saying. As I said before, it's really, really, really a key point to be able to help our students understand that thinking problem solving process, and these questions are excellent to do that, and absolutely encourages collaboration and communication, fostering team skills, communication, peer-to-peer interaction. And differentiated learning as well. As I said, some of the questions go from 100% questions down to the 1% questions. Some questions are relatively easier. Some questions are much more complicated. So we can have this sort of differentiation within your learning as well. Yeah. So I'll leave you with a quote of the day from the great Albert Einstein. Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. Yeah, and it's very poignant for this particular type of questions, because some of the questions, as I said, you'll get them straight away. Some of the questions you'll think, I just don't understand it, while all your friends around you are laughing that you don't know the answer. And conversely, the same thing will happen where you know the answer and other people don't. Yeah, so guys, I hope you find some value from this. Luke will send out the resource. Have a great, lovely summer day. 2 days left and we can enjoy our Easter holiday. You guys have a great Wednesday. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Errol. So just for sharing, we have like a minute left, just a few feedback. Thanks, Errol. My starter for this morning has been sorted. So I love this connection with TV shows. Everyone knows the format and rules. Thanks for all this feedback. I know we're running out of time. As Errol said, I will share with you these contents, all the resources provided by Errol. Please feel free if you have any question to reach out to me or Errol Seaman. And I wish you a really good day, and see you not next week because you will be resting, but we'll get in touch. Thank you and have a good day. Bye bye.
Bye bye.